So this is Mimi answering the question, how do I make my Bravo Probiotics? You start with clean. Do you have to sterilize? Yes. You have to sterilize your first batch because your first batch is going to be mother culture. So instead of thinking that you're going to make an edible batch, which you are, you have to make some of your batches be sterilized because the culture is going to be repeated from step to step, and so you don't want any bacteria in there that will compete with the culture that will make it invalid. So we sterilize. Basically, sterilization is easy. We have a great big pot of boiling water. We stick our thermometer in here. Now, I have in here part of a double boiler. I was measuring the amount of water that will fit in here, because that's going to be milk. It's going to be 4 cups of milk, a quart, a liter, basically the same thing. I'm dumping that out now. So I boiled this giant pot of boiling water. I put a tall jar in it about this big so that I wasn't depending on these little lips, and this glass container could sit right on top of the jar and still have water underneath. Now, a better idea is this is a double boiler. It has a little steel cup in it and boiling water underneath. You can put your milk in here. It's nice to have it covered. It makes it boil faster, and you can pull it out with your thumbs on the top. Don't forget that when we're actually going through this for real, not in a practice run, it's going to be boiling hot, and it makes a difference. So you're going to do a practice run before you use the expensive live probiotic capsules or packets. So I boil everything. I boil the jars that I'm going to put the live probiotic in. It kind of is like a yogurt, but it's not. It has the consistency of a drink, yogurt drink. Maybe I'll need these, but I can stick them in the water if I do. I usually have a stirring spoon that I can fit in a ladle so it's not touching anything else except what's been sterilized. And everything gets cleaned and sterilized. So practice. Where am I going to put my milk in to heat it? Why is it being heated? Because you're going to release the bacteria that's present in the milk so that it doesn't compete with the culture. So you're going to bring the water and the whole pot of milk up to 160 degrees. So you put your thermometer in there, you put your milk in there, I'm pretending, and you watch it rise in temperature as this water rises in temperature until it's 160 degrees. Then, boiling hot water, you're going to grab this and take it out. So you're not going to be doing that with your fingers, you're going to be doing that with your mitts or your things, and that doesn't work so well. It's not real smooth, it's not real safe, but it would be better if I had the lid on it. This is the kind of stuff you have to practice with. Maybe you want to get silicone mitts. They work really good, those fingery things. Okay, so that comes out and has to have someplace to go because it's going to be really hot. But I think that I'm going to use my double boiler. It's smaller, it's simpler, that can still be boiling because I might have to dip something burning into it. You want to have a thermometer. This one is one of those probes that you stick into the oven, so it's got a real long string. It doesn't really matter. What you're looking for is the probe. You're going to make sure that the probe is sterilized, and you're going to put it in your milk so that you know what temperature it gets. It needs to be 160 degrees. Once you get to 160 degrees, you take it off of the flame. Best thing to do is stick it in some ice water. So it's steel, it's not going to shrivel up. This one's going from boiling hot water to ice water. That could break. It is Pyrex, but it could break. So I think I'm going to stick with steel. It's just simpler. So I'm going to probably go over to my sink, have my sink ready while it's coming up to temperature with some ice water. And I'm going to stick it in the ice water, and it's going to stop boiling, and it's going to come back down. I left it on the counter to see if it would come down by itself. It didn't. So I like the idea of the ice water. Okay, so once the milk starts to get cool again, we're not going to need this anymore. Once the milk starts to get cool and it comes down to 110 degrees, then you lift it off the pot and you have your milk there and you put your cultures in it. Now, in your trial run, you want to maybe put a scoop of regular yogurt in it, that organic plain that you got from the store. Or you might want to try a jelly kind of probiotic that you buy online that will help it to set up. Or you can take capsules of probiotics that you have at home. I recommend probably 2 capsules for every ounce, maybe 1 to 2 capsules per ounce. That's going to be your choice. And besides this, which is now cooling, you're going to have something to store your milk in and refrigerate it in it. So this is cooling, but before you store it, you've got to culture it. There are a couple of ways you can culture it. You can put it in a glass dish with a cover on it, like a casserole dish. Or you can use a Pyrex 2-quart bowl like this one, and this one actually has some culturing yogurt in it. In here I'm actually experimenting with some strains of just yogurt that I want to use as an adjunct. You can see it looks liquidy. It's good, it's delicious, but it's liquidy, and I really want it to be more yogurty so that it's just plain more recognizable and easier to eat. So the milk's going to cool down, and then you're going to decide what to do with it. After it's 110 and the culture goes in, then you're going to decide how to culture it. And when I was reading about, there's one more step you can do. Before you put in the cultured product, you can skim off the top of the milk because it has a film, and this film has casein in it, casein, and that's kind of something that people can be allergic to. So if you have a milk allergy or a milk intolerance, take that skim off of it, and that'll help you. And then when you transfer it into what you're going to culture it in, cultures are already in there. So if it's a yogurt and it's going to set up, you can put it in these little yogurt jars that come with your yogurt maker, and if you have one, you don't need one. You can put it in little baby food jars that you buy from the supermarket and take the baby food out. The jars should be probably between 4 and 8 ounces, whatever. This is 250 milligrams. This is 500 milligrams, something like that. Something like that. That's not right. This is the 500 milligram. Anyway, so one way to culture it, and the way that they recommend it at Bravo, is to culture it at room temperature. Another way to culture it is to put it in a yogurt machine, and there's some discrepancy in the instructions, and that's what I set out to really understand. There are 2 different temperatures of cultures. One is called mesophilic, that's mesophilic, and thermophilic. Sorry, I never said that before. The meso means middle, and that cultures at about room temperature, 75 to 80 degrees. The thermophilic is more body temperature. It's 37.5 centigrade, 98.56, like body temperature. So that's more the yogurt maker, which is coming in at about 108, 110. So test your individual yogurt maker. I bought this one online. It's called, let's switch over here. It's called a Cuisine. It doesn't have a timer on it. So I can put this whole 7-quart Pyrex storage with its little cover, and it's nice and warm in here. And it can stay in here for about 8 or 9 hours, and then hopefully we'll let it set up. If you're using a mesophilic culture, it's not going to be good at 110. And if you're using thermal. Now the Bravo is mixed, and that made me a little bit weird, because what do you do when some of it cultures high and some of it cultures low if you don't get the mid-range in there? So I basically cultured mine by putting it in the yogurt maker for maybe 6 hours and then letting it cool down to room temperature for about 3 hours or so, and then I transferred it over to the refrigerator. It didn't set up as a gel. It set up as a liquid, but it often does when I first culture a probiotic from a capsule. It kind of has a little bit of dead stuff and poop and food and icky stuff in it. And it tastes bitter at first, and then the next time you bring the culture over to milk, it improves, and by the next time it's absolutely amazing. So don't think you know your culture by the first time. The Bravo people recommend you use it as direct culture, which means the first time only you use it, and then the next time you need it, you make it again. It lasts for probably 2 weeks, so you're making a quart at a time. You're making a liter at a time. So I'm going to do some more experimentation about how to get it beyond the first batch, how to feed it, how to take care of it. But for now, you're going to move it to the refrigerator. You're going to leave it in the refrigerator for about 12 hours. Some of the product that you're putting in the refrigerator, you want to put in a good solid jar that you can use as the next mother. That's sterilized, that's pure, and that doesn't get disturbed. The rest you can have, but it's important to know how to do it. The recommended dosage is 4 ounces times 2. I think that you can break that up if you have your 4 ounces during the day. I don't think it has to be times 2, and I don't recommend taking more than you're supposed to take. If you're really clean, 4 ounces is going to send you into a trip because it's way too much. Whereas I probably only need about 3 tablespoons a couple times a day, 2-3 times a day. So it's important to know how clean you are and how much to take, and start slow and find that lovely little spot where it just lifts you. That is about it. The other stuff that you want to know of, which is how to take it to the next step after you've cultured it and how often you have to do it. There's a couple of different ideas. We'll pick them up in another video. Okay, bye.